Right. I have, over the course of my work, I come across some really interesting people and very, very interesting characters. Each and every one of us on this planet has a story to tell. And some of the stories that I've come across really do have a profound effect. David, the gentleman that we're going to be speaking with today, or I'm going to be speaking with today, had a massive impact on me. Unlike many people, I generally meet people, get a feel of them and things like that. But I actually had quite an experience when I met David, and I literally was blown away by his energy. And I literally was like, "Whoa!" At this just expansive energy that I felt when I connected to David. So that was a year ago. And over the course of that year, we've sort of stayed in touch. And I'm very privileged to say I've watched a journey of fruition for David as he's brought something from his heart into the world and birthed his own creation. David is actually quite an interesting character. You'll see his name is Dog on there, and that's a story in its own right. But that's how you will find him on Facebook. The links will all be in the comments below. David is an interfaith minister and has been working for a very, very long time with inclusion, social inclusion, and sort of working more at the level of connecting people regardless of whatever their belief systems and whatever their situation economically, and sort of bringing people together and offering support. He's got a very interesting story, and rather than me sort of cobble it together, I'm going to just ask David to just share a little bit about who he is and where he is now in his life, and then we'll go on to share David's dream in reality. So, David, if you'd like to just tell everybody a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Okay, well, I'm a Franciscan, an interfaith minister. Those who don't know, Francis was a Muslim as much as he was a Christian, and most people know that all the prayers he wrote were pagan, that he spoke to animals, that he connected with nature. He didn't put God in a box, and though the Christian community will claim him, he's everybody's, if you see what I mean, in the sense that Gandhi was everybody, belonged to us all. Yeah. He was one of those people who, along with Claire, because again, he connected the sacred masculine and sacred feminine at a time when there was massive confusion and women were being persecuted, other faiths were being persecuted by the church. So I've been an all forces chaplain for a number of years. That's how that came about. I've never served in the armed forces, but I gave an address once to a group of Dunkirk veterans that led to the Federation of Allied Combatants asking me to become a chaplain to movements as well as military movements fought fascism in the 20th century, which was a great honor. And I met people there who knew how to get, for example, in their time, it was airmen, soldiers, Jewish children under the radar of a hostile authority. And it was their wisdom that helped us develop a way of getting trafficked women and children under the radar of the very aggressive controlling forces. So that's kind of what I do. But if I'm honest, I was thinking about how you were introducing me. I'm at the pinnacle of age now, and I can look back, and I faced all the struggles as someone with Asperger's, for example, of other people defining who you are
Mhm.
and how you should think, and I guess um, like everybody else, um, I've I've had to deal with those struggles at a personal level, and you come out at the other side, or it crushes you. I hope, I think I've come out at the other side. I'm in a position to to move deeper into who I am, and I see that for everybody.
I think
That
I agree there, and it feels like that's what is going on for an awful lot of people at the moment as well, because we are facing so many changes for whatever reason. The world is a very different place this year than it was last year, but so many people are facing themselves for the first time and making realizations and understanding. And I think the world is turning around in the way it's starting to appreciate what we've got, rather than getting more and more and more things. And fundamentally, the thing that we've got is ourselves. So there's a lot of people going on that inner journey, finding themselves, finding their strengths through challenging times. That we, it has been a difficult year, but it's a year that's seen a phenomenal amount of growth on a personal level for lots of different people. So yeah, I think that journey that you've gone through your life, the same as the journey I've gone through my life. There will be times where your whole life just shifts and starts moving in another direction. And I think it's fair to say that that happens not just once. There can be a massive
oh, absolutely,
but lots and lots of times as you become much more aware of who you are and what you do in the world that feels right for you. And I think what you're saying is you've followed what feels right for your heart, and you've stepped into that, and that is the life that you live.
yeah.
So you mentioned paganism, which is the link. Paganism, for anybody that doesn't know, is working with, understanding, and sort of connecting to nature. Its seasons, its cycles, its rhythms, and its patterns. It is an energy in its own way. And quite often, people will hear me refer to the planet as it isn't separate from us. It is a living organism with its own consciousness and its own awareness. If you connect into that energy, it supports your energy and your growth as well. So more and more people are becoming aware of that, and that is what underpins paganism. But it is also the older ways of doing things and understanding the way we used to live, and we used to live much more harmoniously with nature than we do now. So it's bringing back the connection because we've been separated. So, and you found a very, well, one, you're very big in the pagan world, and there are things that you're involved with that are bringing together lots of different faiths, lots of different beliefs, and sort of creating a really sort of substantial community of understanding and
Yeah.
of acceptance. And the reason we're doing the video today is to shamelessly plug the thing that you brought from you, from your heart, your understanding, and part of your message, not all of your message, but part of your message into reality. And you've done that through writing a book,
All Hallowed.
All
Yeah.
Hallowed. It's not just a book about paganism, is it? It's a book
No.
about recognizing the aspects of things that are around us. The character on the front of the book, and I've just got to say, this artwork I'm going to say her surname wrong, but I do say names wrong, is by Heather Fair.
Fur.
Fair.
Yeah.
Fehr. So she created the artwork on the front of the book, which was quite significant for you when you actually saw it, I do believe.
Oh, it was.
So there's been a whole series of synchronicities and things falling into place for you to get this book birthed. But it is actually the story of a 13-year-old girl who finds her familiar, or rather, her familiar finds her, and she becomes very aware that she isn't who she thought she was. And the story goes on, and the book goes on to go through her story, her coming to recognise who she is and what that means for her. It's a very engrossing book, to be honest. I don't want to give too much away because I am actually going to give a book away. But it says it's book one in the Pen and Moke Grimoire. So, how many books have you got planned in this series?
Well,
Do you know?
2 is almost complete. And one of the things that the books are doing is going through the cycle of the faith calendar, the interfaith calendar.
Yeah.
So book 2, book 1, All Hallowed, was kind of making that statement that every single one of us, regardless of how we, whether we've got a faith or not, and whatever that faith might be, whether we're male, female, gay, bi, whatever, are hallowed. We're cherished by the cosmic energy that gave us all that we are. And of course, it's the story. Pen's 11 when she meets Smoke. She goes through the year and a day of formation as a witch, and becomes a witch on her 13th birthday. And on Halloween, she does something that brings together, for the first time in a very, very long time, the living, the dead, the creatures, the people, all of goodwill, the seelie and the unseelie courts of the fairy kingdoms, into finally tackling what's wrong with humanity, or an aspect of humanity that's getting the world out of kilter and hurling it towards towards disaster. And then book 2 is it's called Seasons of Light, and that comes to Yule, Christmas, Hanukkah. So it's kind of weaves in. These are the ways that different faiths understand this season, but most cycles are in keeping with the solstices and with the seasons and so forth. There's almost something that's wired into us when we're born, that the world tries to teach us to forget and see things this way. And it's about reclaiming not just our humanity, not just our connection with the rest of the web of life, but our divinity as individual beings, regard whether we're ants, bees, human, whatever.
Yeah, you're giving me goosebumps.
Well, the third book, which I've only just begun to work on, because I've still not quite finished book 2, is going to deal with 2020 and what that's about. Right. And I didn't realise when I was writing book 1 that actually, because I wrote that last year, before the pandemic, but it was setting up for what has since unfolded in the world. And it's exactly what you're saying about over our lives, we shed many skins.
Yeah.
It's once in a very long time, in a millennium or a century, that collectively society or humanity, whatever, begins to shed the skin of the kind of ways it's gotten into that
Yeah.
are leading it away from its connectivity to everything.
And it's true nature. We've got true natures ourselves. It's, so,
Absolutely.
and more people are sort of tapping into that true nature as things move on. It certainly has been a year where things have changed. So the book is not just for yourself, because you're actually utilizing funds raised for the book to support local initiatives and actually to go towards supporting something bigger ultimately, and making sure that there are resources and things available for people when they need them, instead of groups not being included in certain things. And I think you are who you are and you do what you do for your reason, but it's bringing that awareness that, it's not about religion being wrong, it's about religion. Religion maybe needs to sort of adapt a little bit as well. So, or some of the ways that we've done things. And I think they are, and they have been for a while. Um it's, things are changing, and but it's coming together as a race, as the human race, and bringing that humanity back. We're very disconnected from that at the moment. We certainly are in very, very interesting times. um i'm just I'm just going to read the back of the book. I might have to hold it away a little bit because I won't admit that I need glasses, David, but there we go. So this is just, what's it called on the back of the book? A little bit of insight of what the book's about. So Pen is just an ordinary 11-year-old girl when she rescues a bird trapped in a chimney. The moment she holds him in her hands, Pen realises she is a witch who has encountered her familiar. She names him Moke, and I love the way she names him Moke. Their adventures together begin in the Lancashire mill town of Woodstone, but soon Pen and Moke, accompanied by their friends the Emma twins, undertake a journey to Elan Vannin, the Isle of Man. I've said that wrong, but the Isle of Man, before journeying onwards to the Scottish town of Aberfoyle. Here, with help from human ancestors, the kingdom of the creatures, the fairy folk of the Sealy court, and a most unexpected ally, they bind an ancient evil. By the close of their first adventure, Pen has reached the age of 13. In the intervening period, like most young people, she has come to realise several layers of her personal identity, and being a witch isn't nearly the half of what she has learned about herself. Not just young people who are revealing layers. I
Absolutely.
think it's all of us at the moment. So the book, I know you're a little bit pushed for time because you do lots and lots of work other than writing a book and supporting the community. What is it that you
Actually, okay. I've got a funeral call to make.
right,
Not
okay.
until, in fact, let me just check so we know the parameters. Not till 2 o'clock, so we're fine.
Right, okay, so that's absolutely fine. I haven't got to rush through lots and lots of things of this. And as I said, I am, because this book is to raise funds, because this book is to add to something else, and not obviously just for personal gain. It's for personal expression, but expression that will reach a lot of people. And I think what you've got to say through the words that you use in the book, and through the story, and through the life of Pen, is something that is contains a beautiful message for all of us. And as I think as people read the book, they certainly will connect with the characters within the book. And hopefully it will bring realizations to them as well. So I have bought 4 books. So I'll be giving books away in various groups. One of the books will be given away on this page, which is my main page, Tina Warren. And the others will be given away in the groups that I've got as well. So these books, whoever wins the book, you'll be adding to this good energy that is being created by this book. David is going to sign each book with an individual message. Not necessarily with a name, but he'll put a message in each book and sign each book as well. So that is a giveaway that I'm going to share. And that will be linked underneath with the video. There'll be some way of doing it. I'll find out when I try. That's how a lot of things happen with me. I did actually find a really beautiful quote that just jumped out this morning as I was reading another book. It literally was on the second page that I turned over, but it literally jumped at me, and it is so perfect for this. So the quote is by Carlos Ruiz Zafón, and it states, every book has a soul, the soul of the person who wrote it, and of those who read it and lived and dreamed with it. Every time a book changes hands, every time someone runs their eyes down the pages, its spirit grows and strengthens. And I thought that was just so beautiful. I've written it down, but I really do hope that that is what happens with this book. And I think, it feels like such an amazing book to read. I can't wait to finish it. But I'm also studying at the moment, so my reading time has to be spread between different things. So, and I think whoever wins the book or whoever buys the book, and I will give a list down below of bookshops that people can buy it from, plus your links. We've really not said very much about you, David. The fact that you're an interfaith minister, you do lots of services. You've already talked that you will be talking about a funeral. You do the rites of passage which are funerals and hand fastings.
Hand fastings, weddings, end of life stuff, doula work. And obviously,
would you like to explain a little bit about what the doula work is? Because I know what you mean.
Sure. Sure.
But I'm sure not everybody will.
Okay. So a doula is a midwife, although we've come to use the term in local pagan circles as a midwife of the soul. So whereas the midwife is the person who reaches in to lift you into this world, the doula of the soul is the person who's with you at the end, maybe, or after you died, is helping to you over the threshold to be greeted by those who have gone ahead, who are just as joyful to welcome you as people may be sorrowful to let you go. Now, of course, people, as you've rightly said, people make their own build their own understanding of life, of death, of the universe, and so it must never be about the celebrant. It must never be about me or whoever I'm working with, because if, for example, I'm doing most pagan funerals would do require a balance of male and female energy. So I'm with my women colleagues in the Greater Manchester Pagan and Witches Chaplaincy. it's never about us. It's about who are you? And we ask that of, people often invite me to come and meet them when they know they're dying. I did a wedding, a renewal of wedding vows on Saturday gone
Yeah.
for a man who was terminally ill. And it was very simple. We'd also arranged for a lot of his bucket list to come together. He got a ride off on a Harley Davidson. He and his wife met people from the wrestling world and the biker community and the music industry who they admired, and it was a really kind of not too intense, but a very affirming energy day for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's always got to be about those people. So I don't work with scripts. I find working, I was an Anglican priest for 13 years, and I found that working with scripts is quite limiting,
Yes.
and it can be cruel. It limits the celebrant, it limits what you're able to offer.
And
So,
yeah,
um,
often speaking somebody else's words is difficult as well when you've got words that are in you that need to be expressed. So yeah, it sounds like I did see a post about that you did at the weekend actually.
oh,
But that looks like such a lot of really generous, good-hearted people coming together to sort of make it a memorable day while he's still able to do that, while he's
and I
still
think,
able to accept sort of appreciate everything that's going on around him. So really, really nice, really nice. I spoke to you about my own experience going back to the doula um thing. I often Sometimes when you live a life that is in its own way full of magical experiences, you don't often express that openly. You just accept that that's your life. And there are sometimes very profound moments. And I shared my own one with you and within your group of that, which was I was born in I was born a number of years ago in Meriden, and fast forward 30 years, I was working in a nursing home and caring for a lady that had had a whole career as being a midwife. And
yeah,
this lady was at the end of her life, and I spent time with this lady talking to her and sort of just giving her time and just appreciation, really. Um, and through one of the conversations, I don't know what made me ask, but I asked where she worked when she was a midwife. And was it a hospital or was she was a community midwife, so she did home deliveries and things. And there were a lot more of those when I was born. Um, And it turns out that she delivered in the area that I delivered. And something resonated with me very, very deeply, but I couldn't say anything because I didn't know the facts. So I actually went and spoke to my mum and asked if she remembered the midwife. I was born at 4 o'clock in the morning on an army base in a blizzard. So, you know, the weather in itself will be memorable. Um, I asked my mum if she remembered the midwife and she remembered the name, and she did. And she says, I couldn't forget the name because it was such a beautiful name. Um, and when I went back into work that night, I turned around and I sat with this lady and I said, were you working in this area at this time? I said, I was born here and my mum remembers your name. And
Wow.
she turned around and she said, and she actually remembered the blizzard, and she remembered coming out in a blizzard to deliver this tiny little scrap of a baby. I was tiny, I still am. But she recalled, because of the weather, she delivered thousands and thousands of people. Later that night, I sat with that lady as she left this earthly life, and she transitioned. What an amazingly beautiful soul, and what an amazing gift I got in being able to support the lady that brought me into the world out. So I'm very privileged to have gone through that. But as I say, sometimes when your life is full of amazing things, you don't always recognize when they're amazing. And we all do have amazing things happening in our life. So apart from the book, you're quite a busy person, and you're also a DJ.
Well, I wouldn't say I'm a DJ. I present a radio show.
You present a radio show, and the
Yeah,
radio show is on
Salford City Radio, which is 94.4 FM, and it's Punk Monk on a Wednesday afternoon.
Punk
Um,
Monk.
yeah, which is a name I got. Oh, that's another long story. Restoring a Franciscan monastery, and we wanted to show that it was for everyone.
Yeah.
And we were asked by a punk band if they could record a video in there. So I went in with my Franciscan habit. They asked me to stay and be part of the video, and then I ended up on the Manchester music scene as Punk Monk, appearing with bands like the Damned and the Stone Roses and Goldblade and the
Oh,
Membranes.
how hard work
Amazing.
is that? How terrible is that work? What an amazing opportunity. What an amazing opportunity. And I do know, because of the situation at the moment, that a lot of the DJs have been broadcasting from home. And you've actually took things into Facebook, and you do music and things through Facebook, and your playlists and things are through Facebook. So I'll put that link in as well if anyone wants to sort of. You certainly do
5 a day, so people get a healthy diet of music.
5 a day for the healthy diet of music, and it's a very eclectic mix. It does reach across every genre of music. So, David, I'm going to wrap it up there. I'll share this video, and if you would like to win a copy of All Hallowed, all that I am asking you to do is to write a comment, but actually go into the links that are below. If you want to give David a follow, you'll find him under Dark Pilgrim. Long story, that one. But you'll find him under Dark Pilgrim on Facebook, and any of the other links relating to the book, the radio show, or anything else, you can ask David directly and support him in his work, and helping him to sort of spread the message of inclusion, acceptance, and love that comes through his work and through his words. So, David, thank you so much for giving me the time.
Thank you.
I really do appreciate it. And thank you so much for the book. And let's see who enjoys it. It'll be really, really good. And once I've given it out in the groups, I might actually do some work with your book. So let's see. Anyway, thank you once again. And I'm just going to stop the video. There you go.